back to Chai with Chalk. In today's interview, we're not actually going to be talking to someone who has a healthcare profession, but we're going to be talking to someone who is going into the healthcare field. So, a medical student. And hopefully she can tell us a lot of interesting information about more of like the schooling process and what you have to do in order to become a doctor. So, let's jump into the video. For today's interview, we're going to be interviewing a fourth-year med student from Drexel University, Ria Malerker.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, what inspired you to go into medical school?
I decided that I wanted to go into medical school when I was a senior in high school. I didn't always want to go into medicine. I wanted to go into a lot of different things, and I wasn't quite sure. But I was lucky to have some shadowing experience in high school. And my mom is a practicing physician, so I spoke to her. And I think ultimately what drew me to medicine was the ability to really learn more about humanity by taking care of people. And the fact that I would always know that I was doing something noble by trying to help others.
Okay, can you explain the education path to becoming a doctor?
Yeah, sure. So traditionally, people will, go to undergrad for 4 years, and people take a lot of different paths into medical school. Some people apply to medical school directly out of undergrad. Some people take a break to do research or work in different industries. But at some point, someone decides they want to go to medical school, and it's a 4-year program to go into medicine. There's 2 different types of programs in the U.S. There's MD programs and there's DO programs. So, you choose what kind of program you want to go to, you apply to the program, and at the end of those 4 years, you get the degree, either MD or DO. And then beyond that, to actually practice medicine, you have to get trained in a particular specialty. So a lot of common specialties that people will go into are internal medicine, which is like the primary care doctor that takes care of adults. People will go into pediatrics, takes care of children, surgery. So there's a lot of different options, but it involves, you have to get an undergraduate degree, a medical degree, and then residency training. And then after that, there's beyond residency, you can even go into fellowship, but that's kind of the general pathway. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, how many years of schooling, are you planning on going through, including your residency?
Sure. So, I actually took a different pathway to medical school. I entered a direct program in Drexel University right out of undergrad. So when I applied to undergrad universities as a senior in high school, I also applied to medical school. And so Drexel University at that time had a 7-year BSMD program. So I completed 3 years of undergrad at Drexel, and then you have to meet certain GPA requirements. You have to take the MCAT and get a certain score. But if you are able to do that, then you are kind of guaranteed acceptance into 4 years of medical school. So that is a 7-year program, and I'm actually in my last year of that program. But it's my 4th year of medical school. And beyond this, I plan to enter a residency program, which will take me 5 years. So, yeah.
Do you think there's a benefit to doing a shorter program like the one that you go through Drexel, or versus a normal program that most people go through?
That's a really good question. I think it really depends on the person. I've talked to a lot of people who took different pathways to medical school. Some people worked or did research or got a different degree, such as a master's or PhD, before they entered medical school. And I think ultimately everyone ends up being happy with the path that they take. For me, it made sense because I knew as a high schooler that I wanted to go into medical school, and it helped me to have that assurance. And I think it actually helped me to enjoy my undergraduate experience a lot more. Because when you're applying to medical school, it can be stressful because you have to get certain grades, you have to take the MCAT, which is a really difficult test. You have to do a lot of volunteering work and build your resume, and that can get very stressful. And I was lucky enough to not have to necessarily worry about that. So that allowed me to enjoy my undergrad experience a lot more, I think.
Okay.
Even though there is something to be said about having a 3-year undergrad experience versus a 4 years. So it's kind of a give and take.
Oh, okay. What profession do you hope to become after graduating?
So I want to become a radiation oncologist. Radiation oncologists are doctors who use radiation therapy to treat cancer.
Oh, okay. Did you know that you were gonna want to become a radiation oncologist when you were in high school, or did you figure it out as you were going through college?
No, I definitely figured that out probably as I was going through medical school. I didn't know until my 3rd year of medical school even remotely what that specialty was. I had no idea going into undergrad what kind of doctor I wanted to be, and it kind of fell into place. So in the beginning of my 3rd year, I began to get more exposure to radiation oncology by talking to people who were in that field, and then I had some shadowing experiences, and now I've done a few rotations, and that's how I know that that's what I want to do.
Oh. Is there a reason why you chose specifically that career versus any other career?
Yeah, so radiation oncology, it's a very niche specialty, and it's not a very common specialty for medical school graduates to go into. But I think it's a really cool specialty because we get to treat patients with all kinds of diagnoses. So I know I said we use radiation to treat cancer, but there's a few other conditions that we can also use to treat, that we can also use radiation to treat. And so as radiation oncologists, you get to see patients with really interesting tumors or other benign growths that you can use radiation to treat. And the way that the field is, it involves a lot of teamwork. So we work with medical physicists and dosimetrists to create a treatment plan. We work with other specialties like medical oncologists. Those are the ones who would prescribe chemotherapy. And we also work with surgical oncologists who actually would grossly remove the tumor in the OR. And so we go to a lot of tumor boards and talk with professionals from other specialties who are treating the same condition in a different way. And so there's a lot of really great teamwork that happens. And then the treatment planning itself is really cool. There's a lot of really neat technology that we use to treat cancer. And then the thing that I love most is the relationships that we build with patients, because a lot of these cancers can be very serious and life-threatening conditions.
Right.
And patients and families come to us in a very vulnerable state. So we see them as consults, and we get to plan their treatment with them. We get to follow them throughout the course of their radiation treatment, and then we continue to follow them for years afterwards. So it's a really great, I guess, it's just a very fulfilling specialty, I think.
So, what are the thoughts that you have on the amount of schooling that you're going through for your profession?
That's a good question. So I'm probably going to go through a lot of schooling. If you count my 3 years of undergrad, it would be 7 plus 5, so at least 12 years of schooling. I guess by the time you enter residency, you're technically working, and you're earning money, and you're able to charge for what you do, but it's still part of your training. I guess when I went into medicine, I never really thought about the fact that I would be in school for a very long time while other people would graduate and get jobs and become real adults. I still don't feel like a real adult. I think it's something that you just kind of take as it comes. There's nothing I can do about the fact that I'm going to be training for a long time.
Yeah.
I think I enjoy it. I'm a big nerd, so I love to study and read and learn, and I think it's really cool actually that as a future doctor, I have the privilege of being around educators and to receive all this training.
So can you describe what your college experience currently is like?
Yeah, so currently I guess I'm finishing up my medical school. So in medical school, different schools do it differently, but my medical school had 2 years of what we call didactics, which is just lecture-based learning, where you actually you take the core classes and learn the material. And then in your 3rd and 4th year, you move into the clinical realm, and you start doing what we call rotations. You go through the different specialties and kind of figure out what you want to do. So right now I'm in that second half where I'm going through the the rotations. So every few weeks we switch rotations, but we get exposure to different specialties. Right now I'm doing emergency medicine. Last year I got to do internal medicine, surgery, OB-GYN, pediatrics. That was really cool.
Oh, okay. How stressful would you consider your life to be as a med student?
It's pretty stressful, I'm not gonna lie. So in your first 2 years, there's a lot of coursework, and there's exams very frequently. And it seems like a lot, but it's important it's building you towards taking your board exams. So to become an MD, you have to take 3 sets of boards. They're called the USMLE, Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. So after the first 2 years, you take Step 1, then you take Step 2, usually after your 3rd year, doing clinical rotations. So you have to do a lot of studying. Even when you're doing clinical rotations, you go to work all day and see patients, but then you have to come home and study for those tests. So it can get pretty stressful. It's worth it though.
Yeah. How do you deal with your stress?
A lot of ways. I think time management is a really big. It can be a really great help. You have to allot time for studying and make sure that you have enough focus and discipline to study when it's time to study. And it's a lot of hours. You don't really get weekends off. You have to study on weekends too. But I think time management and making sure you build in time for other things is also key. You have to make time to spend with your family and friends, do important things like work out, cook, whatever it is you do to maintain your person, you have to do that.
Okay. Do you have any advice for high school students like me who are interested to going into the medical field?
Yeah, as a high schooler, I think your job right now is to decide if you even want to go into medicine, first of all, and realize that if you do decide to go into medicine, it's a really big commitment, and it's possible to, it's always possible to switch careers. It's possible to switch into or out of medicine, but it's difficult. So as a high schooler, I think it would be good to expose yourself to medicine as much as you can if it's something that you're thinking about going into. The way you can do that is by shadowing. You can reach out to, if you happen to know anyone who's a doctor, or if there's hospitals or clinics around, you can reach out to those people and see if you can get some shadowing experience. That allows you to just spend a day in whatever specialty and see what they do, see if you like that. You can also get an idea of whether or not you'll like medicine from your coursework. So if you are somebody who likes the sciences like biology, chemistry, in my high school, we had the chance to take organic chemistry and anatomy as well. So if you are able to expose yourself to those kinds of courses and you think you like that, that's always a good way. And another great thing you can always do is try and get some volunteering experience. It's not at all what you'd be doing as as a medical student or as a physician, but volunteering experience allows you to reach out to the community, and if you realize that you're a people person and you like talking to people, taking care of people, I think volunteering can be really valuable to get you that experience.
Okay. Did you do any summer programs that helped you, or?
Yeah, I did a summer program at UPMC. It was called the University of Pittsburgh Health Career Academy, I believe. It was a 4-week program. It was the former governor's school. But I stayed at Pitt for 4 weeks, and that was really cool because we had a lot of lectures from different health professionals, not just physicians, but also nurses and technicians, and all kinds of different health professionals would come in and talk to us, and that gave us an opportunity to shadow a little bit as well. So during that experience, I got to go to a sleep lab, I got to see bilateral knee replacement surgery, I got to see actually an oncological surgery. They were they were doing what's called an exploratory laparotomy, where they open up the stomach and they search for tumor cells in the bowel and things like that. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to interview you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You asked a lot of great questions.
I personally learned a lot from Maria today, and I really hope that you guys did too. I mean, I know it sounds intimidating that there's all this school in like 7 years, and on top of that there's 5 years of residency. But definitely if you are thinking about going into the medical field and you enjoy doing science or helping people, like it'll definitely be worth it in the end when you get to do your like dream profession. Also, she provided a lot of useful tips for high school students like you and me that you should definitely use throughout your high school career, like joining clubs or doing volunteer work and stuff like that. And also I heard behind the scenes that she did watch Grey's Anatomy and it really made her want to become a doctor in the first place. So maybe if you guys aren't sure about if you really want to go into the medical field, I definitely would watch that show. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I really hope you enjoyed it and learned something. Okay, bye!